If you're thinking about living in Perris, I would not go anywhere because we're getting ready to talk about all there is to know about living here in Perris, California. Hey, Jose here, your SoCal Realtor. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home, do not hesitate to reach out. My team and I are here and ready to help you with your real estate needs. So, okay, living in Perris, California, I mean, where is it? Is there anybody that even lives here in Perris?
Where is everyone?
Oh yeah, you better believe there's quite a few people actually that do live here in Perris. In fact, the population here in Perris, it is just over 81,000 people. So yeah, I mean, obviously living in Perris, I mean, can't be that bad. And the growth in population that they've experienced here in Perris, yeah, if you go back to just 1990, believe it or not, the population here in Perris, it was only just over 21,000 people. 10 years later, in the year 2000, the population was up to just a little over 36,000 people. So if you look at that over 10 years, that's only an increase of about 15,000 people. But 10 years later in 2010, the population jumped to 68,000 people. And then 10 years after that in 2020, 78,000 people. So yeah, there's been a lot of growth here in Perris, especially over the last 20 years. A very common question for those that have school-age children that are thinking about moving here to Perris, and that is, well, what are the schools like? How are they? Well, according to niche.com, the Perris School District is actually pretty good. They gave them an overall grade of a B+, and the grade here that actually really kind of impressed me is the grade that they gave them for their college prep. Not bad, right? I mean, they gave them an A. Now, Perris might not be as big as some of the neighboring cities that are around, well, such as like Riverside, for example, but believe it or not, there's quite a bit to do here still. First of all, you have Skydive Perris, which is located in the Perris Valley neighborhood toward the southern side of the city. But here at Skydive Perris, they have tandem skydiving. You can learn how to do solo skydiving. They also even have an indoor skydiving experience too. Yeah, that indoor skydiving, that one's probably a little more my speed.
People hate sissies.
Also here in Perris is the Action Star Games Paintball Park, which is located almost right next door to Skydive Perris, but here at Action Star Games Paintball Park, I mean, this place really is pretty cool. Of course, that's assuming you're into paintballing. They have multiple themed fields to play on here, a lot of fun, and well, at least as of the recording of this video anyway, they don't cut you off after, I don't know, like 30 minutes or whatever it is that, you know, some of the other parks might do. They will let you keep going until the park closes or until you get tired, whichever one comes first. There's also quite a few really nice parks here in Perris, such as Paragon Park, you have Copper Creek Park, there's Patriot Park, Skydive Baseball Park, Fossfield Park, Monument Ranch Park, just to name a few, because again, there really are quite a few really nice parks here. Also here in Perris is the Perris Auto Speedway, which is located here on the northern side of Perris. But this place really is a lot of fun. It's a half-mile oval clay track that they have here. I mean, the races are great. Again, it's a lot of fun to come here and watch the races.
He didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you. And rubbing, son, is racing.
There's also the Perris Speedway.
Didn't we just do that?
No, but this one is located down on the other side, in the southwest side of the city. Here at the Perris Speedway, this is a great motocross racetrack. It's set up for both pro tournaments as well as amateur riders. And well, as you can see here, they're set up for both day and night riding. And how do we talk about Perris without bringing up Lake Perris?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Lake Perris, it really is a lot of fun for boating, for swimming, for camping. I mean, it really is a very popular destination here. Now, is there any shopping available here in Perris? Yes, but with an asterisk, because I mean, if you're looking for like shopping malls or something like that, no, you're not gonna find that here. Sure, you have things here such as there's the Perris Crossing, there's the Perris Indoor Swap Meet, there's also the Plaza de Perris. However, right next door to the north in the city of Moreno Valley, you have the Moreno Valley Mall with a ton of stores, a ton of restaurants. There's a lot there, and best of all, it's just minutes away. Here's quite possibly the most popular question that we get. In fact, actually, maybe it's a question that you have. Maybe that's what brought you here to this video, and that is, where in Perris, California should you consider moving to? Where should you consider buying a house? Well, here's how I'm going to answer that one. Based on online reviews, here are the 4 most popular neighborhoods that are here in Perris. Coming in at number 4 is Pinnacat, which, first of all, I'm going to apologize in advance if I didn't say that one correctly, but this one, it's fairly centralized here in Perris, and I'll be honest, it's not the largest neighborhood. However, you're going to find that the majority of the homes here, they're built back in the 1980s, so they're not necessarily old, but they're not new either. They're a little older. On average, in terms of size of the homes here, the average size home, and this isn't necessarily across the board, but on average, they are a little bit smaller. I mean, you're probably looking at, I'm going to say maybe 1,000 square feet on average for the majority of the homes here. Price-wise, they're pretty good though. I mean, considering Southern California anyway, but on average, they're probably like right around that mid $400,000 range. At number 3, you have Pacific Hills, which sits up just a little bit closer to the north end of Perris. In fact, one of the parks I mentioned earlier, Paragon Park, is right here also. But the homes that are here in Pacific Hills, there's a pretty good mix. I mean, some you're going to find that are built as far back as the 1980s, and some built as recent as just a few years ago. The sizes for the homes that are here in Pacific Hills, they're pretty decent size. And in fact, honestly, I would go as far as saying they're probably pretty average sized homes, at least for Southern California anyway. I mean, pretty standard. On average, you're going to find them to be probably around 1,500 square feet in size. As for the prices too, I mean, those tend to be, again, this is considering Southern California prices, but they do tend to be fairly well priced, averaging, I'm going to say probably in that mid $400,000 price range. At number 2, you have Perris Hills, which you'll find at the far north end of the city of Perris. Many of the homes that are here in Perris Hills, they definitely are newer. They date as far back as the early 2000s, so they don't go too far back, but there's many of them here as built as recently as just in the last few years. As for the size for the homes that are here, they are not small homes. Honestly, the average size home here is probably, I'm going to say, right around 2,000 square feet, so they're definitely not small homes. As for the home prices, they are definitely a little bit more than the first 2 neighborhoods we just talked about. I will say the average price for homes here, you're looking at somewhere in that mid $500,000 range. And coming in at number 1, again, this is based on online reviews, but is Monument Ranch, which you'll find down at the far south end of Perris. In fact, another one of the parks I mentioned earlier is located here, and that's Monument Ranch Park. And at least in my opinion anyway, this really is a real nice park. As for the neighborhood of Monument Ranch, this is definitely one of the newer neighborhoods here in Perris. I mean, the homes here, the oldest home honestly dates back to like, the early part of the 2000s. The newest home is like brand new. The homes here though, they are a little larger also, however. I mean, the average size home here in Monument Ranch is like 2,500 square feet. So they're definitely not small homes here. And then in terms of the pricing, I mean, you're going to find that on average anyway, the prices here in Monument Ranch, they're like kind of in that mid to maybe even slightly upper half of the $500,000 price range. Of course, keep in mind the price ranges I give you here in this video, they are as of the recording of this. If you should have any questions at all, or maybe you are thinking about buying or selling a home here or just anywhere around the Inland Empire, my contact information is below. Feel free to reach out. Otherwise, until then, we'll catch you on the next one.